Hello everyone and welcome to another Leetcode video. Today we're looking at find the count of numbers which are not special. This was question 2 in weekly contest 408. This was definitely a pretty tricky one. It only has right now about 25% acceptance rate, but let's walk through it and see if we can figure it out. So we are given two positive integers, L and R. So for any number x, all the positive divisors of x except x are called proper divisors of x. So what does that mean? Let's say we have the number 4. If we take the divisors, we have 1, because 4 is divided cleanly by 1, 2, likewise divided cleanly by 2, and also 4. So these are proper divisors, 1 and 2. 4 is not a proper divisor because if you look at the description, it's all the divisors of x except for x itself. So for this problem, even though 4 technically in mathematics is a valid divisor of 4, it's not a proper divisor. So this is not proper. We're only going to be looking at ones that are not itself. So a number is called special if it has exactly 2 proper divisors. So you can see in this case, 4 is special because it has exactly 2 proper divisors. However, if we take a look at 6, divisors are 1, 2, 3, and 6. And remember, it's all divisors of x except for x. So we're getting rid of x itself. And then we actually have 3 proper divisors. So since this has more than 2, this is not a special number. So what we want to do is return the count of numbers in the range LR that are not special. So remember, we're not looking for numbers that are special, we're looking for ones that are not special. So given this example here, we see that given the range 4 to 16, we want to output 11 because all these numbers are non-special besides 4 and 9. So let's look a bit closer at this example and see if we can figure out how to solve this. So we saw from the previous example that our special numbers are 4 and 9. And we know that basically every other number is non-special. So we're going to return 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 non-special numbers. But how do we actually figure this out? So let's take a look at the factors and kind of just walk through. So the factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. So here we see that this is we can't use that. It's not a proper divisor, but we have 2 proper. So we know that this is special. Makes sense. We walked through that before. Let's look at 5. The factors here are 1 and 5, but we cannot use 5 itself. So here we only have 1 divisor, right? This is a prime number and it only has 1 divisor besides itself. So this means, remember, that proper has to have exactly 2, not less than or equal to 2, but exactly 2. So this is non-special, right? Because it has 1 divisor. So this we can use. We saw 6 before. This has 1, 2, 3, 6. This has 3, so this is not special. Similar to 5, this has 1 and 7 as divisors. We can cross out the 7 because that's itself. Again, this has 1, so not special. This has 1, 2, 4, 8. Again, not special because this has 3. Now we look at 9. This is our other special number, right? So let's look at here. So the factors of 9 are 1 and 3, right? And 9 as well. But we cannot use 9, and we see that we have 2 proper divisors here. So 9 is a special number and will not be included in our count. So you can kind of see how we're going through this. We're looking at all the different factors. We're just trying to do a count and see if we have 2 proper ones. So the constraints for this problem are very, very high. We have 10 to the 9 is our highest possible number that we can be given for R. So going through all the factors like this will be very, very inefficient. But let's take a look at what we just did and see if we can observe any patterns. So you'll see that the 2 special numbers that we picked out have something in common, right? So what they have in common is that they are the squares of prime numbers, right? So for example, here we have 2, and let's make a little room here. So if we take 2, which is a prime number, and we square it, we get 4. Likewise, if we take 3 and we square it here, we get 9, right? So basically, you'll see that a property that we can observe is that the special numbers are only the ones that are squares of prime numbers. And obviously, we could look at 4, but 4 here is not a prime number. This would equal 16, but this doesn't count because 4 is not prime. But again, we could look at 5 and say 5 squared equals 25. So we would know that if we had 25 in the range, we could consider this to be a special number. So what you'll kind of notice from this is that the number of special numbers we're going to have is actually far less than the number of non-special numbers we're going to have. So if we could find the special numbers and eliminate them, that's something that would be pretty helpful and save us a lot of time. So how do we do this? We're going to use a sieve of Eratosthenes, and this is a kind of advanced way of doing things. For handling prime numbers, be able to quickly figure out which numbers are prime. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to generate all the prime numbers up to a certain point. So say we have the range 4 to 16 again. So we want to generate all the prime numbers up to the square root of 16, right? And why do we want the square root of 16? Well, we know that we're only looking at numbers that we're going to square, right? Because if we do 16 squared, I'm not even sure what this is, honestly, but this is a huge number. I'm sure it's got a lot of zeros at the end, a lot of different numbers, but this is way outside the range we're looking for, right? We're only looking for these numbers up to 16. So why would we want to generate numbers that go this high? All we're really caring about is the values from 2 squared equals 4, 3 squared equals 9, 4 squared equals 16, right? And you'll see that once we get to 5, we're already out of the range of numbers that we're looking for. So what we want to do is we want to generate a sieve up into the square root of r, which is 16 here. And what does a sieve actually do? So a sieve is essentially an array where we can, in constant time, look up a number and see if it's prime. So we'll store all the numbers from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, just in this case. And basically what we're going to do is that we're going to start all our numbers as true, right? Saying in the beginning, we're going to assume that all these are prime until proven otherwise. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start at 2, and what we're going to say is this number prime? Well, it is, right? So we know 2 is prime. So what we can do at this point is we're going to go through every single multiple of 2 and say, well, we've seen a prime number, but if we multiply this by another number, we know that that number is no longer prime, right? So say we have 2. If we double this number to 4, we know that this is no longer prime, right? So we could say, okay, well, I've seen a multiple of 2, and I know that this cannot be prime anymore because we've seen a previous prime number, multiplied it, and got to here. Likewise, if we had more numbers, say we went to 6, we'd continue that same process. We'd say, okay, let's do 2 times 3. Well, we see that that can't be prime either because we had a previous prime, we multiplied it, so there has to be another factor being 2. So essentially we're going to do that for every prime number we see. So we'll do it for 2, we'll do it for 3, go through all the multiples, we do this for 5, go through all the multiples, and then basically what we have at the end is we have an array where in constant time we could take a number and look up and say, is this a prime number? And what we can do with that is say, go through the factors, say we'll go through 2, we'll see this is prime, let's square it, so we'll do 2 squared equals 4, and say, if 4 is in the range we're looking for, we can basically eliminate this, right, because this is special. We could say, out of this range of numbers, I found one special number that I know we're not going to include in our answer, right? And then we go to the next one. We do 3 squared equals 9. Is this in our range? Well, it is. In this case, we're going from 4 to 16, so this would be special, and we can remove it from our range. And then what we could do is the next prime number is 5 squared. But this is outside the range that we're looking for, right? We're only going up to 16. So at this point, we would just stop and say, out of all the numbers that we have in total, we found 2 special ones. So we can remove these from our count and then return that as our answer. So the time complexity of the sieve of Eratosthenes is actually O of n log of log n, right? This is not something I'm going to go into in this video. There are tons of great YouTube videos out there describing why this is, but this is something you maybe just memorize for contests or for interviews. In case you ever are asked what the time complexity is, you can just basically know this. So that's kind of the general idea of how we're going to do this. We have to be very particular about the work that we're doing and the range that we're doing this work over, because the constraints are so strict that we have to make sure we're doing this in the most optimal way possible. So let's hop over into the code and see exactly how this is going to work. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to set up our sieve. And what we're going to do is we're going to start an array. And we're going to have an array that's the length of the square root of r plus 1. And remember, we're only going to the square root of r because we're going to be squaring all the numbers, right, in the sieve. If we find a prime number, we're going to square it and see if it's in that range. So we only need a sieve that goes up to the square root of r, and just add 1 just for a little buffer, just so we can, if it's like a float and we're truncating it down, we have that extra number as well. Then what we're going to do is we're going to start with our first factor is 2. And while the factor squared is less than this max value, what we're going to do is say, if it's a prime number, we're going to go through all of its multiples, and we're going to mark them as not prime. And then what we're going to do is just increment our factor by 1. So this is the way we set up our sieve for each problem. Then what we're going to do is, this should not be here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say our non-special count to start is just all the numbers in the range, right? So we're going to take our right minus our left, and then we're going to add 1 to that, and that's all the numbers that we have. So then what we do is we're going to get the actual range of numbers we're going to iterate through. So what that is the lowest factor we're going to start with is the square root of L, and the highest factor is the square root of R. And remember, these are the only factors that we have to consider. So say in this example, maybe our lowest is 2 and our highest is 4. We're going to go through each. We're going to check if it's prime and if that squared value is in the range that we're given. That means that if this is both true, this means that this is a special number that we can remove from our count. And this is just an edge case. If we ever have the number 1, we know that 1 squared is 1, so it just kind of handles that case. So again, we're just going through all these factors that we found. We're going to check if that factor is prime, and if that number squared falls in our range. And if both those are true, we know that this is a special number, and we can decrement our count by 1. So let's submit and make sure that this works. And it does. So this was a pretty tough problem. Hopefully this helped and it kind of made sense. With these high constraint problems, you really have to think about optimizations and really make sure you're not doing any wasted work. So hopefully this was helpful and it made sense, and thank you for watching.